Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Timeless Season 2, Episode 8. It's called The Day Reagan Was Shot. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. And this episode ended up being more of a sort of personal Back to the Future style episode. The tell sign was kind of there when they made a point of like showing you Christopher's home life again at the start.
Yeah, in the previously on they showed us the flash drive. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I guess that's coming up.
yeah. I thought it was fun though, because when we actually got back to the past, it's 1981, which I believe is the newest time period we've went to.
At least this season for sure.
And the reason why I say that is because I don't think admittedly, it's always been the same three characters until recently, going in the trips, right? It's only just recently we've had the fourth seat.
Yeah.
So it's never really come up before, but it's
Did we
definitely...
not do the 80s last season? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we did. That was they're in the bright suits, you're right, there
Yeah.
was. But the reason why I say that is because it's the first time it really came up that, oh wait, no, I can't go because I was alive
Yeah.
in that time period, because both Mason and Flynn are like, oh no, I was in first grade then. I can't go.
My query is so.
They say it later on in the episode that they can't. Lucy flat out says that.
But is there a reason? I don't. Maybe it was given in season one, but I don't recall.
I feel like it was probably said offhand in like the first episode when we were explaining the rules, but I don't think it's really come
Maybe.
up since then.
No,
But
it definitely hasn't been an issue.
well, yeah, I mean because I've always been going further back, so it's not even like a
Yeah.
consideration. It did make me think though when they went back, and I went, okay, well, are all three of these characters not alive in 1981? I guess not, but I didn't think they were
Yeah.
like. Not that I think they look super old or anything. I'm just thinking about it. Like, I was born in '89. This is
Yeah,
'81.
they,
This is
they
only...
they only have to be in the low end of 30s,
Yeah,
which I think that's plausible.
yeah. No, this is fair. But it made me think about it because I'm like, it's kind of borderline. I'm like, surely some of them are soon to be born.
They're not far off, yeah.
Yeah, they must be on the brink of their. It's kind of like how the joke in this episode they use Cagney and Lacey, because Gia goes back
Yeah.
and she uses that as an alias, and it's almost like she gets fun as, oh, I get to use an alias for a change. I get to pick
Mhm.
a character or a famous person, and Lucy's like, hey, that premiere's like later, because I was actually thinking as soon as she said that, I'm like, I feel like that was an '80s show.
Yeah.
That feels like it might be contemporary, and then Lucy points out, that premiere's later this year. So, live life on the edge.
Yeah. Also, major disappointment in this episode.
Oh.
So we finally got to the point where, they've gone to a time period where there's security tags. And it's just, we just did it anyway. G is good at getting around security tags. I don't know. I feel like they set that up in that first episode where they went back and they were like, just as long as we have to deal with the security tags.
I assume all you really wanted was one scene of hijinks of them trying to like steal some clothes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, right. You didn't think, oh, that's just a big plot point where they have to.
No, but I wanted the payoff, which
Okay,
I feel robbed.
all right. I did not have that concern, if I'm honest. Never occurred to me. So obviously the big thing is they think that Reagan's there to be shot, and it's when Christopher comes back into the base because she arrives a bit late. Everyone's already left, and she's like, "Wait, that's not what they're there for. I don't think." And we find out why. It's because she was a rookie cop, and she was there that day. So the Rittenhouse sleeper agent's actually there to kill her and wipe her from the timeline. So it ends up being about saving young Agent Christopher, and that leads to lots of fun stuff. Probably, in terms of humour, my favourite scene was probably where they're trying to explain to her, it's like, because her mother wants her to get married, and basically getting shot basically convinces her, maybe I should stop being a cop, maybe I should have the arranged marriage and be safe, and all the rest of it. And so that's why I compare it to Back to the Future, because it's kind of like how in Back to the Future the whole thing comes about, oh, I need to make sure my parents get together. This is kind of the same. It's the inverse. It's like, I need to make sure she doesn't get married to this guy.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of thing. It's like, oh, the family tree will be different, and events will play out differently if she goes through with this. So they're trying to convince her, and they bring up being gay, and Lucy gets awkward because she thinks because Christopher thinks she's hitting on her. And to get around it, she then pretends she's in a relationship with Gia. And I was cackling through a lot of this. This was them sort of holding each other and pretending to be a couple, and
Just like all of a sudden playing it up when there was
yeah.
nothing there like 2 minutes before.
Also, Gia constantly mentioning things that no one understands in the time period. She's not thinking about it, and she says hashtag something at one point.
Yeah.
She says gaydar at one point. Like all just these things that just keep coming up.
There are things like that you can kind of get away with, though, because at least, gay and radar are already terms. So you can just assume, you can assume, oh, I haven't heard that one before, but you can see the logic in it. Whereas,
Oh, sure.
the hashtag thing, it's like, well, there's no context for that.
Oh yeah, she says like, hashtag me too for Jodie Foster because if anyone doesn't know, and I wouldn't have told you this fact off the top of my head, but as soon as they started talking about it, I remembered I knew this. That the guy who shot Reagan was like a Jodie Foster stalker who
Oh, yeah, yeah.
was obsessed with her and all that. Like it's sort of like as soon as it started like bringing it up, I was like, oh yeah, I knew this. Like I knew all this stuff.
I should hope so. It's basic history.
But the real interesting thing about this episode, though, is that it ultimately comes down to them making the choice to actually tell Christopher everything.
Yeah.
Well, almost everything. They leave out some key details because she has to make some choices on her own. But they tell her they're time travelers. They tell her who she is, and Lucy whips out a laptop that she conveniently had in the time ship.
Do you know what? I really feel like they shouldn't be allowed to just carry these around to the past.
I think that's why they leave them in the time ship.
Yeah, but it still feels risky to me.
I mean, I can't say that it's there to look things up because there's no internet to look things up on, but I still feel like maybe the laptop's in the time ship in case they've got like things on there that they can go check. Like she's saved a cache of Wikipedia.
Isn't this the whole point of having a historian with them?
Yeah, but she's not like it's not like she's got that perfect memory where she remembers everything.
No.
Some details you have to go back and.
In that case, I would appreciate her, seeing her doing a bit of research just once.
That would be nice, because it almost plays like she does just remember everything.
Because, she can't research after they find, it's not like she can have tabs on, this a point in history saved, ready to read, because they don't know that they go in here, they're like, oh, all right, that's the date, Reagan's getting shot, let's go. They're just gone straight away. There's no time for her to go, hang on, let me just get some tabs up, I want to do some light reading on the way.
Yeah, but hey, so you've got that side of it. The team kind of splits in two. Gia and Lucy take Christopher, go and try and convince her, and ultimately do, and ultimately say, hey, this is your wife, these are your kids. I like that she gives her a USB stick and says, yeah, it's going to be about 20 years before you can actually use that in anything.
Yeah.
Which I actually like when they came back. She actually says, you should have seen my face when I first saw a computer with a USB slot. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it does sort of kind of build up to this moment where they get off the ship at the end, and Christopher walks in, and she's like, "I remember all of you, and I've been waiting 37 years to say thank you, and I've been, and so on." And I thought, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting that she had this her whole time. I also kind of like that Flynn just kind of like gives her shit.
She didn't kind of have it the whole time, did she? Because it changed into this. She's had it the whole time from her perspective.
Well, that's what I mean.
But not before this episode. Like, everything that's played before this episode, she hasn't known it.
Oh, yeah, I know, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, okay. The way you were saying it is,
why do you... No. To her now, she's had this for 37 years.
Yeah. It's just the way you said, she's had this the whole time, made it sound like she'd had it, all the time she's known it.
No, not in the show, because in the show's clearly established that things change like that. That's the way this time travel in this show works. Which is why I didn't necessarily feel the need to...
Yeah, it was just the way you said it. I thought that's what you were saying. I was like, that's not right.
But I liked Flynn basically chastising her, like, hey, you're just going to sit and do paperwork. Like, if you are going to be erased from history, if you're just going to, vanish out of existence, how about you go spend your last potential day with your family? Like, he gives... And it felt true coming from him, because given what he's went through.
Yeah.
It played quite well in that sense. And then meanwhile, you have Rufus and Wyatt getting after the sleeper agent. Bit of light torture.
Nothing too heavy.
I will say I was getting proper... they did a good job in this one. I'm really making it feel like the 80s. Later on, when the brother of the sleeper agent who's coming to kill Christopher at our house, first of all, I loved it. They just run him over with a car. I thought that looked really good. But when they get outside and they sort of hunch down next to him, they've got those 80s suits on. I'm like, yeah, this is like, if we did like colourful Miami Vice last season, this is like more like steel blue Miami Vice.
Yeah, it's a bit more subdued, isn't it?
Yeah, but I was getting that vibe, and I guess that makes sense because it's right, it's right at the start of the decade. It's kind of transitioning from the 70s.
Which, to be fair, the 70s were pretty flamboyant in themselves.
That is true. That is true. But this has more of a more of a. I mean, I'm thinking of All the President's Men, which is obviously actually the '70s, but I'm thinking like it's got that kind of. What's the color palettes? It's got this like Washington official like vibe to it.
It's what you yeah, it's kind of what you expect when you're dealing with politics, right?
Yeah, it's all very muted, and it's like, yo, we're not at the disco.
No one's out here, having raves.
Yes, but it still felt like the '80s, and I felt like this could be a political thriller. It looked like a political thriller from end of the '70s, start of the '80s. It had that kind of look to it, so
Yeah.
I like the cinematography there. So that's just pretty cool. But yeah, so no, the Christopher stuff I thought worked pretty well. Like it was actually kind of exciting seeing them try to convince her, like, no, like this is going to happen. This is who you're going to be. And you're going to have to like go, and they even flat out tell her this is when you can get married. Like like earlier in California, it's like California. I was like, yeah, that's where you're going to live. By the way, just for the record.
Make sure you move there at some point.
Yeah. You're going to go to the FBI. You're going to do all these things, and I thought those choice, like having to convince her of that, was interesting. It was a genuinely new thing for the show, which is probably why this is probably my favorite episode. Maybe other than the JFK episode where he's in where he's in present day.
No, that's fair.
I think these two have definitely been my two favorites of the season because they've really shaken things up in a way that, I mean, obviously the JFK one really shook up the structure of an episode. This shook it up in a different way where the dilemma was very different. They get the sleeper agent pretty quickly, and that's more about the morality and Rufus like not wanting to kill him, and him dealing with his own thing about fearing death, and obviously that comes back around with Gia where he's like, no, let's love each other. Also, by the way, I have never connected to Rufus more when he says that he will love her no matter what, even if that means watching the extended editions of The Lord of the Rings. Like, that is such a commitment to make to a person. Like,
it's really not.
That is such a weighty thing. I would rather take a bullet for someone than watch through those movies again.
No, you wouldn't.
Oh, in the arm?
Don't be facetious.
Absolutely.
All right, fine. I will happily shoot you in the arm.
Well, no. Instead of Lord of the Rings, I'm not.
Oh, fine. I will shoot you in the arm, and you will never have to watch him again.
You can't prove that you're going to do that.
Try me.
I'm just saying, someone I love is about to get shot. I will happily jump in front. I mean, admittedly, I'm going to be smarter than TV characters and just push them out the way because there's no need to get a shot. Let's do things properly, people. But it just that is a commitment. I was like, damn, also, Rufus, that is like promising to him your firstborn something stupid or going to prison for a decade for them.
It's like 11 hours of your life. That's it.
It feels like 10 to life, though.
Oh boy.
What are you gonna say?
Yeah, I'm convinced that him dying is not actually in cowboy times. Like the vision.
They'll go to like a movie set in a different time period or something.
Like the way he was like, it's all these men with tattoos and there were spurs on the boots was like the last point.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't honestly think of cowboy times as tattooy.
I'm
very
sure
tattooed.
they had tattoos, but
I'm sure they existed, but I don't think of them having sleeves and
right,
stuff.
Exactly. The way he was describing them was almost like a biker gang. Oh, and they had spurs on their feet.
Here's something interesting from this Rufus stuff, the visions and the time travel from Gia, is it really made me start to think about the time rules in this show. And I don't know why it took me till this episode to really think about this, but she's having visions of the future, but they're not actually taking place in the future. It kind of means this show has like almost like an umbrella like timeline.
What do you mean they're not taking place in the future?
Because they take place in the past. They travel to the past and then they're taking place. So, given that we're traveling around time, by definition, that's not in the future. But she's seeing it as if it's a premonition of something that's going to take place in the past, which means there's an overall timeline where all these things are kind of like jumping about in and of itself.
I think it's blurry because we have shown that they can change physically. They can change things, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, even though it's in the past, the present where we are now that's the set point. Because they're going back and changing things, that is like the future of the world, the universe, right? Because they can't travel forwards in the ship.
Yes.
They can only travel backwards, but that is changeable. So therefore, if it's changeable, then the present kind of that's the fixed point as well. That is the future as far as it's concerned. It's not going back, and it's not quite as simple as you're saying. I don't think.
I'm not saying it's simple. I'm saying it's complicated.
No, I'm saying like saying that they're in the events of the past. They're not, because they haven't happened yet. It's not like she's seeing something that's happened. We just don't know it has happened.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It means
yet.
time doesn't work the way that you think it works. It means there's two different ways that time is working in this show. Because one is from the perspective of the characters, but that's in the future because it's not happened yet. And then the other one is, no, it's a variable where we can go back into it. And that's already happened, but then it can be changed. I mean, the other argument, of course, is that what she's really seeing is like a memory of what a timeline's going to be. Because that was one of the first ideas we had, was that she's seeing like multiple outcomes, or she's seeing like an alternate timeline of something that's already happened. So, I mean, I don't know. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, technically, the future, it's a really weird statement to say that's in the future. It's in the future from her perspective, but it's not the future. It got me thinking.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, though, because I'm saying, because they can change it, even though it's in the past from their perspective, it's in the future of the timeline, as far as, time itself, as the world is concerned.
But, which means there's kind of like two timelines then. There's a overall timeline, and then there's the actual time of history within that.
I don't know. I'm thinking if it's a straight line, and this is the present, they just go back and go to that event, right?
Yes.
And then change it, and then it branches into a new timeline from there, because they come, and then it comes back to this is where they come back at the end of the episode.
But if she's seen something that's going to happen, especially if it's in the past and the future, then that implies there's a straight line already going out ahead in front of them as well for her to see something.
Yes. Yeah, there is. But I don't think that's a separate timeline. It's just that's where they are now. It's
Well, it kind of is, though. I'm saying it's a layered timeline, because she's seeing something in the future that's in the past, but that's not part of the same timeline where they're actually altering things.
Okay.
It's like there's an extra layer where it accounts for all the jumping around underneath.
Right, okay, I'm with you.
Where it's almost like there's time as we think about it, where things happen and then they keep happening, and then once things have happened, they're in the past. And then on top of that, there's the meta-universe timeline where it accounts for all the changes that have been happening.
Yes.
And are going to happen, presumably.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she wouldn't be seeing anything from the future, from her perspective.
No, I think it's what is most interesting to me is once she's seen it, it's set in stone as far as they're concerned, because
which I assume it isn't. I assume that the whole point of this is that they'll stop it.
Right, of course. But I think it's interesting. So far, it's come true, or at least a variation upon has come true. Whereas they are distinctly showing that there are all sorts of things they can change to pretty severe, levels of impact.
Yeah, because obviously the big thing with Christopher is that, unlike the original timeline, she now has a relationship with her mother. Before, she was like estranged, she didn't know she was gay. And given her age, that's a long time to go without coming out to your parents. It
is, but there's been something, at least like one little thing every single episode this season where they've changed something. And like even going back to the start of the show, oh yeah, your sister's gone. That's a pretty big impact. So things can change. So what is it specifically about these visions that make them unchangeable?
I suppose that's where you bring in fate on top of everything else, if you want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually don't know where they're going with it. There's a few obvious things that could go in either direction, but I don't know which side they're going to take.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I'm not entirely sure.
It's tough. Also worth mentioning before we go, at the end of the episode with Lucy and Flynn, where he actually tells her that she, about 5 years older, give or take, his best guess, comes to see him in a bar right at, about, was it a month or something like that after the death of his family?
Yeah.
And he's drinking himself silly in a bar, and she comes in and says they'll have to work together and gives him the journal. But obviously she points out, but you can't travel to your own timeline within your own lifespan. You can't do that. That's dangerous for whatever reason. And he says, well, maybe you figure out, maybe Rufus figures it out in the future. and
Yeah.
then it becomes possible, and that's why you can do this at some point. So I mean, we've only got 2 episodes left, so I'm glad that they're finally sort of bringing this up and prodding at it, and maybe questioning, okay, how do we get there? I do not think though that we're going to actually get to the point where we see why she goes back to him or anything like that.
No, I agree. I do feel like maybe this season's playing it a little. You know, now that we're towards the end,
Yeah.
I can say I feel like maybe the season as a whole is playing a little too safe, given that. Okay, given the circumstance of how it came back, they probably should have played. Okay, this is all we're getting, and we left on that cliffhanger last season of the vision of the bridge, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that was huge, and we've kind of slowly been building that up, but it's like, okay, maybe we could have dived a bit more into it.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like they're expecting more.
It does, doesn't it?
It does, and I don't know if we'll get it. Hopefully we do, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like her coming back to the relatively recent present day. When Flynn just lost his family a couple of years ago. It sounds like that's something that I wouldn't expect to see until like a season 4 or 5.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I mean, hey, we'll see what happens. But it's definitely worth mentioning. And also, actually, Jessica's pregnant.
Which I'm gonna say this played really weirdly for me, intentionally weird, I think, because the whole thing is she's texting her brother,
who originally died when he was 3 because he was ill, but now cutting edge medicine at the time saved his life.
Yeah, convenient, and Wyatt's pressing and being like, yeah, but how did your family afford that? Where did this come from? And to us, we're clearly going, okay, Rittenhouse.
Which maybe implies at this point that it's saving his brother that kind of had a chain of events that led to her not dying.
Yeah, it could be.
That would be my guess right now, because it seems like that's the thing they changed.
It does, at least right now, yeah.
Yeah.
But my question is, so she doesn't answer. She goes, okay, I should probably be honest with you. I'm pregnant. It's like that really feels like she's just dodging the subject. Like, okay, I'm changing the topic.
Oh, you think she's just lying to get him to stop talking?
I don't know if she may well be pregnant as well, but the moment to bring it up there feels like, I'm going to distract you with this quickly.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to go down the path of she did make some sort of deal with Rittenhouse to save her brother or something, but she actually isn't evil and she's trying to like not have to do the evil things or something. I don't know, like
Maybe.
Kind of like how in this episode we set up that the guy was kind of a victim, the Rittenhouse sleeper agent. Where
and I like that Rufus brought up. It's like, hey, I've been there.
Yeah, because he was threatened heavily last season and he was forced to do some stuff, so he understands that. So. So I mean, I like this episode quite a bit. I thought all the Christopher stuff was fairly well played.
I liked it a lot.
And it was a different tangent to the time travel that we've had in this show.
Yeah.
So that is Timeless, episode 8. So we got 2 left before the end of the season. So and they're both next week, I believe. It's a
double final, yeah.
Yeah. Is it episode 10's a double, or is it just 9 and 10 are both next week?
I assume it's just.
It probably is, but double check. Let's leave them with the correct information before we.
Yeah, I'm just checking now.
Exciting.
Episodes 9 and 10 next week.
Cool. Jodie Foster would be proud. So that is Timeless. That is episode 8. So by all means, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening, and we'll see you next time. Have you got any vanilla?